This may sound strange to you, but I can't think of a single individual that I hate. The guy who pushed his cart into an aisle that I was already substantially into, knowing that two carts couldn't fit into the aisle, said sorry, and then continued to move into the aisle, pushing me out of the aisle. I didn't like what that guy did. I didn't like it. Did I hate the guy? No, not at all. He upset me. He frustrated me. I did not hate him, and I could not hate him for that. Why could I? And obviously there are much more serious things that people have done to me, but the fact of the matter is I still cannot hate any of them for what they've done. I just can't. I'm sorry. That's not something that I'm able to do. I wanted to talk today on the idea of hate and non-support, though, on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Sunday, the 19th of December of 2021. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Thank you for coming along today. And remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. The subject, again, for today is hate and non-support, and I'm going to go ahead and go through my notes real quick to kind of give you an idea what's sort of driving the conversation that's going on in my head about which I'm doing this little piece. I'm not going to sit here as a Christian and tell you everybody who claims to be so is the same as me. I am going to make it plain that I consider there are certain things you must support as a believer. One of those things is the idea that all human beings are the product of a masterful, amazing, wise Creator. As such, and frankly because the Bible says as much, you should count them a part of creation made by that skillful hand. That means you should love your fellow man no matter how errant or foolish they are in what they present or represent. It's important to understand that. Here's where things need clarifying. Loving someone is not the same thing as supporting what they choose to do or be. In fact, a person who supports someone putting a gun to his or her head and pulling the trigger knowing a round is in the chamber, I would argue probably does not love that person. I know there are folks who would argue for exceptions to this. And where I can't come up with one myself, I'll make the case there may be situations in which it's reasonable for that person to do that thing. For most such instances, though, at least as I see it, the person who urges or supports another in such actions probably does not love them. That would be true whether or not the person doing it thought it was the best idea in the world to take such an action. The young lady who decided she was, quote, supposed to be blind, end of quote, born to be blind, and with the support of a supposed medical professional, psychological professional, poured bleach in her eyes, comes to mind when I think of it. That the two of them did it together. I'm not suggesting the fellow who, quote, helped her out, end of quote, loved her. I'm not saying that, okay? If I were you, I would be hard put to make such an assertion as well. The fact that I refuse to support the actions or beliefs of someone with whom I don't agree isn't a sign of love or hate necessarily. If you assume I love them, though, and the thing about which we're talking is important, you should expect me not to support them in that thing. Of course, the one thing I definitely should say is that doesn't necessarily mean I would separate myself from them either. There are times when I don't believe it's possible to, quote, stay attached to, end of quote, in whatever sense, a person you love who you know to be doing things that are to their own detriment or that of others. As a rule, though, you can make it known you don't support that choice or those choices and still interact with the individual in question. What I want to make clear is non-support and hate are inherently anything but the same thing. They can be the same thing. You can hate somebody and not support them as a result. But I would argue most of the time they're not. Even if failure to support is not a sign of love. And I want to make that clear. Okay, I'm done with my notes. I want to make that clear. That I'm not saying that every time somebody doesn't support somebody else, it's a sign that that person loves that other person. I'm not trying to say that. All I'm trying to say is this. if somebody says, I want to do this or be this, and I see that that thing is going to be harmful to them, and I love that individual, and I support them in doing the thing that I don't want them to do, I'm not really working, in my opinion, in the best interest of that person, and I'm not displaying my love for that individual when I do that. I'm just not. I'm sorry. You may disagree with me. It's your right to do so. I'm not going to tell you that you can't, but you need to understand that most of the time when somebody does something I do not and cannot support, regardless that I love that individual, in fact, because I love that individual, I really probably am doing the right thing if I can't support it, and I don't. If I support it, I'm not doing them any favors as far as I'm concerned. That doesn't mean that I say to that person, I will cut you off or no longer associate or interact with you, as I say, as a result of saying that I can't support what you're doing and disagree with you. That's not what that means. But that doesn't mean that at times, as I said, you don't have to kind of take that tack to make it very clear to the person that what's going on is probably not something that they should be doing, and that you don't even want to be around them when they do that thing because it's so very bad for them or for someone else when it happens. So the main thing I want to make plain, the main thing I want to make clear is this. Support and love, they're not the same thing. Support and love are not the same thing. I support people all the time that I love, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't support people that you love in various ways. That said, when people do things that they really shouldn't do, I don't believe you ought to be supporting them as a rule. At times you can even say, like I say, look, I'm not going to stop you, I'm not going to tell you can't do that, but I believe that's wrong and I don't think you should be doing it. Other times you should be saying, I'm going to do everything that I can to keep you from doing the thing that it is that you want to do because I love you. And again, look, even if I don't love you, supporting you in doing wrong is bad. It's bad. It doesn't matter whether I love you or hate you, quite frankly. There's a concept that comes out of Judaism and finds its way into Christianity. And the concept is when your neighbor's or your enemy's ass is in the ditch, you help them. Their donkey is in the ditch. You help them to get it out. It doesn't matter that you're their enemy. In that case, support is the appropriate action. But the same thing, in my opinion, applies to non-support for things that are bad. You don't support people doing things that are bad, and if you do, what you're saying to that person, at least in an implicit way, is it's okay to do that thing. I don't support people when they do bad things, or I try not to. I had a friend recently who seems to have fallen rather hard on hard times, and I hadn't seen him for a while, and I met with him, and we were in a gas station, and he looked to me like he could be hungry, and I said, hey, is there anything you want in the gas station? He said, well, I want this, and I want that, and I want that, and he grabbed a bunch of things, and he said, I really would like some cigarettes, and I had to tell him, no, I'm not going to do cigarettes or alcohol. I'll do anything else in the store, but those things I'm not doing for you, because I can't support them for you. I believe they're harmful to you. And I know that there are people who would argue that there are going to be withdrawals, delirium tremens, or whatever it happens to be, right? Withdrawal from the various things that they're dealing with. I get that, but I still can't support that. If he can find a way to get those cigarettes or alcohol by himself, I guess that's up to him. But as far as it goes, I'll buy him the food. I'll buy him not even a lighter, maybe a lighter. I would do that. But I wouldn't buy him cigarettes, and I wouldn't buy him alcohol. And that's because, as far as I'm concerned, it would be wrong for me to do that. You could argue that I sort of love him as a friend. You could argue that I just like him real well. Whatever kind of floats your boat there is fine. But my point is, I'm not going to support him in doing badly for himself. And I do not suggest you get in the habit of supporting people in bad even habits, much less really bad things that are going to be harmful to them or others. I just don't suggest you do that. Attitudes, perspectives, actions, I don't suggest it. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get across today. Hate and non-support are not the same thing. They are not. Haters gonna hate that line they use. As far as I'm concerned, it's a rubbish line. Okay. I need to go ahead and wrap things up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Sunday, the 19th of December of 2021, coming ever closer to the end of the year. It is the beginning of the Christian week as far as Those of us who are Christian are concerned. As far as I can tell, that's pretty much a universal thing. That means tomorrow will be Monday, the 20th of December of 2021, that beginning of the work week for a lot of people. Again, getting ever closer to that beginning of the new year, the end of the current year, and obviously to Christmas for those who celebrate it. Thank you to everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Remember that you can, remember Rumble is my preferred platform, that you can give me a Rumble or a boxing glove on Rumble, a plus on Rumble if you choose to do that. And the plus obviously would indicate that you found reason to count my content worth your while. You can give me a minus if you don't believe that that's the case. On YouTube, you can give me a thumbs up or a like if you like my content, or a thumbs down or a dislike if you find that you don't like it. On any platform where I put my content, you can comment on if comments are available, you can comment on what I've done, and I will do my best to look at and try to pay attention to exactly what it is that you are saying, and if I feel that it's reasonable, comment, but certainly I'll look at it and see if I get anything useful out of it. The subject for today has been hate and non-support, and tomorrow I'm going to talk about something that Dinesh D'Souza brought on in my mind, and it is a discussion of revenge. I'm going to talk on the subject of revenge, and I'm going to talk on it maybe from a totally different perspective than the one he did. I'm just going to give you my personal thoughts on that, and you can take that for what you want. You can always look at his stuff as well to see what he had to say about it. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you and continues to do so. And obviously, I would love to see you on Monday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video is recorded on Sunday, the 19th of December of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.